What's raging, gamers? Welcome to Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. How you doing, HenricK the Wreck?
You know me, Chris. As always, it's Wednesday. We're back. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Hey, man, everything is Louis Vuitton, Tom Ford, Gucci when I'm with you, my man. We are so excited to be talking about gaming news, industry talk, and so much more. So, what do we do, HenricK? Let's get it, baby, right?
Yeah, let's get right into it.
Because we got so many things that are constantly going viral over the internet. So we always like to start off the show with the bang and show you guys all the stuff that is circulating all across the World Wide Web. So let's get it. So every wedding reception's like a mystery box. Will it be a classy dinner with a side of cha-cha-cha? Or a cocktail hour that somehow leads to HenricK the Wreck in a toga? Who knows? But no matter how you slice the cake, one bold couple decided to throw the tradition out the window for their first dance.
So instead of a first dance, I was wondering, would you please play a first game with me?
3, 2, 1!
Oh, sorry. It's just, taking notes.
Look at you. Okay, look at you, Pikachu. Trying to catch them all, baby. You know what? That is kind of like the ultimate gaming wedding finesse, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, no, I was very surprised at how many people were, viewing this video. People, I mean, look at this, 151,000 likes around this comment that says, me and my husband forcing our wedding attendees to watch a 45-minute ranked league match that we lose. You know what?
Honestly, that would be very entertaining. I don't even play League. I don't like playing League. But I think I would be entertained.
Oh, stop it. You find compassion turning your wedding into an esports event?
I wouldn't do it personally, but hey, you know what?
Right?
Each their own.
Well, some people are kind of skeptical about this move. Nintendo later sued everyone who attended the wedding.
How dare you use our stuff at an event without us knowing and sanctioning it?
Yeah, and how are you guys in love without us filing a lawsuit? Shame. And no way you blue-shelled your wife on her wedding day, shaking my head. Yeah, you know what?
You're gonna hear about that later.
That was pretty legendary. After all, if she still has the ring on it, you're fine, my man. At least that's what I'm told. Hey, but anyways, this was pretty wild. Aiden Ross dropped $5,000 to snag Call of Duty Black Ops 6 a week early, only to realize he basically paid for a premium sneak peek at his own disappointment. Imagine shelling out that much cash just to find out the hard way that the only thing that you unlocked early was regret.
So I'll explain why this is pointless to get early this year. They did their thing. This is pointless because you load up the game, you can't play it. So it's pointless. I can't even play it. It loads up Call of Duty Black Ops, the HQ thing, and that's it. So they patched it, so therefore I couldn't play this game early. Yeah, I paid like $4K for it, $5K for it. So it is what it is. So
all right, but it's not like the old days where you could just pop in the disc and play it. You got to do updates and all that. That's not going to be live until it goes live.
But, that's the whole thing about the whole problematic nature about live service gaming, right? I mean, this is, you would think that with his posse and, all those rumors about how much money he's been making with 2 years being on the new platform Kick, that he would have his posse looking out for him. I mean, $5,000 is $5,000. I mean, that is just...
Well, clearly $5,000 means nothing to them.
Oh, gosh. There's a lot of things I wish I can do right now at this instance with $5,000 that I do not have. But Aiden Ross is always scammed. Yeah, why is that the case? This guy always is getting finessed. I mean, the last one I remember was with 21 Savage. Remember that?
It's, yeah, I do remember that. And I guess it's just content, right? That's all it is at the end of the day.
Does anyone remember?
Yeah, there it is.
I mean, I couldn't believe that there was someone behind him that was scratching the deck, basically letting 21 Savage know what was basically in hand. And, you know, that's when you just look and you say, man, you need to figure out the people around you need to look out for you better. But then again, you got also Modern Warzone that's saying in a tweet, yeah, I can't imagine having so much money to blow that I just spend $5,000 without doing an ounce of research and then not giving an F when I found out that I wasted $5K. I mean, you see it all the time
for
with
real.
people's natural reactions. I mean, he's one of the number one kick streamers out there. I mean, he doesn't go numb like we do. I'd be red in the face. I'd be like a strawberry shortcake. I got to be a lemon cake for the show, if you know what I mean, HenricK. So, got to keep composure. But you know what didn't keep composure? Oh,
what?
My gosh. The 12-year-old galactic crowdfunding legend known as Star Citizen. You might have heard about it because it's only been around for like 12 years and we still haven't really produced much of anything. But apparently,
maybe never going to come out. Well, the verdict is still out on that.
Yeah, exactly, HenricK. But apparently it's still in orbit, claiming to be a feature complete and just needing to be a bit of a polished job. You know what I'm saying? That's like, that car that's been stuck in the garage since 2015. But wait, after all these years, Robert Space Industries promises the game will launch sometime in 2026 because what's a few more years between friends, right? And just when you thought it couldn't get more ironic, their live demo over the weekend pulled the ultimate plot twist, and let's just say they might need more than a little polish.
I like how the crowd is like, yes, this is what we paid for. A game that is not finished and crashes in its demo.
It's all
Good
right.
Good job, everyone.
It's all right. We will keep on going. I thought that was in the video game, and then I had to watch that clip over and over again. I'm pretty sure it was the guy that was demoing it. So that just what made it even funnier to me. But then you get comments around Reddit that says it's 2 years from release, so problems during a demo aren't a big deal. The real problem is that 2 years from now, the game will be 2 years away still. Yeah, that's
and then when it's 2 years away, then it'll be another 2 years after that.
It's amazing how people have so much faith in this company, this publisher, this studio to really just excel. I mean, I'm always quite flabbergasted, but then F it, looks like I'm donating another $50,000 to help them iron out these issues. Nothing else I could do. So yeah, I mean, they just keep wanting more and more money, but then not really resulting in some playable action, I suppose, HenricK.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it progress, and hey, granted, it does look really cool. Their vision is great, but we just, we've been waiting a long time, and we have nothing to really show for it except for an unfinished game that you can technically play.
Yeah.
But, we want the finished product. We don't want the unfinished
you need to
product.
have a Nvidia RTX 4096 to be able to play this. Sorry, you need to be in our 6-figure club to get this new ship model. Here's a keychain. Honestly, a physical keychain is probably more useful than any of these ships people are buying. I mean,
yeah, have you seen the prices on some of those ships? It's wild.
This guy's clearly having this bright idea because he saw what happened with, the now infamous Concord. People are feeling like they're holding on to some holy relic with this canceled game. I mean, just that other proud example, right? Just with Aiden Ross, right? You get this game, and yeah, you can have the CD, but that doesn't mean you can just load it up and play it. Even if it's in your own little offline lobby, you are screwed. But man, that is crazy. But man, we got such a jam-packed show for everybody that's joining us for Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. And we can't thank you, the gamers, for always tuning in live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because without your guys' support, this show would not be possible. And here is my QR code. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a live show.
And go ahead and scan that QR code on the screen as well. You'll go to my YouTube channel, go join the conversation. We're just having fun. That's all it's about. And yeah, let me know what else we can talk about.
Yeah, I think that's such an important feature that we got going. We want to hear from you, the gamer. So wherever your text box is at, whether you're joining us from Meta, Twitch, YouTube, come on, join us along for the ride. I know HenricK's going to say something completely outlandish, and we all need to just join in together, just like a multiplayer match. No, it's going to be like Battle Royale, 99 versus 1. You are the culprit, my friend, for today's show. No, just play.
We'll see about that.
Who knows?
The jury will decide your fate.
Hey, well, we got the perfect segment to really kind of set the tone, if you know what I mean. So, HenricK the Wreck, are you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, I am. And it is time for Pause or Repeat.
That's right, baby. Let's get it.
Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is the Silent Hill 2 remake. This remake is by Bloober Team, a Polish game developer known for some horror games in the past, like Layers of Fear. Though their horror games haven't always had the best reception, there was definitely hype surrounding this remake considering its legacy. So let's take a look at the game and see how it turned out, starting first with the gameplay. While trying to be faithful to the original, the game does try to offer more modern additions to the gameplay to attract new gamers. One of the biggest changes is the move of the camera to over-the-shoulder third person, similar to that of Resident Evil 4. This greatly changes the perspective of the gameplay from the original, which had distant camera angles and even fixed angles at times. Along with the changes to perspective, the game's combat takes a turn to Resident Evil 4 once again by giving James new combat options from the original. However, don't expect to be blasting away enemies like you would in Resident Evil 4. The combat will quickly show you that you are not playing a super soldier or even a trained soldier, just a regular average guy. Enemy placement is also different from the original in order to keep fans of the original on edge from what to expect. And the enemies also have new moves to share with you as they try to take your life. Outside of combat, there are some puzzles, some returning and some new. So the typical gameplay loop is you roam around looking at your map, solving puzzles, exploring, and trying not to die whenever you get in combat. Moving on to the story. The story of the game is about the same as the original, even retaining multiple endings to it. You play as James Sunderland. He received a letter from his wife Mary, who has passed on already, and in it, she is telling him to meet her at their special place. Turns out that special place is in Silent Hill. Upon arriving, James finds that his grief for his wife's passing has transformed the town into a manifestation of his mental state. Will he survive the abominations and horrors that await him? And will he find his wife, or something else? But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat?
All right, I have a question for you, Chris. And the question is, Did you play the original? Because there's actually a little bit of a split in the community about this game. And a lot of it has to do if you've played the original, you see this remake and it's not really exactly what you wanted. Like it changes enough to be modern, but a lot of people made the argument that the old version is really janky because that's the point of it. What do you think about that?
But isn't that the same people that were complaining about Resident Evil 2 remake? I mean, yeah, I was one of the lucky people that was able to, play, even be able to survive the first go around back during the PlayStation 2 era. But I mean, remember when they did a few twists in the storyline, with the plot, especially with the main antagonist when it came to Resident Evil 2. Not everybody's going to be satisfied, but when you do got more puzzles and more boss encounters throughout the way, I think they kind of did a little bit more of a refreshing twist. But I think I think it's kind of a win. I think especially in time for the spooky season, it's just kind of incredible. I gotta say, HenricK, that they're recycling a video game from the dead, or was it really dead to begin with? And I gotta say, either way, Bloober Team nailed it, bringing back that same psychological horror that have you question your sanity all over again. And, especially when it comes to those PlayStation 2 fans, I thought they would be excited. I mean, you're hearing otherwise?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen plenty of people say, hey, it's great to see this game get a lot of reception. And, even for minor things like, hey, yeah, the voice actors, they sound more human. Because I remember there being some sort of thing with the voice actors in the original where it was just like random people, not actual actors, who were voicing these characters, and people rationalized it as like, hey, yeah, it's supposed to be like that because it makes you feel like everyone's kind of not playing who they're saying they are. It's just like at the end of the day, all the things that you're talking about is because the game was made with not a whole big budget like this modern version was. And hey, maybe it does add to the story a little bit. At the end of the day, I think it's awesome that they did a remake and they did a pretty good job with it. And I believe that this is going to get people interested in the franchise once again, because it's been dead for a while. And maybe that means we'll actually see more Silent Hill stuff moving forward. And if you think that the original is so much better, then tell people to play this first, maybe, and then have them go play the original so they can compare it.
Yeah, I think that's so true, Henry, because I think James, our main protagonist, gets a letter from his dead wife, the classic Mary, always with the drama, even from beyond the grave. And she turns out she's just chilling in Silent Hill, which is apparently the Afterlife's version of a timeshare. I think a lot of horror fans would be drawn into this. It definitely gives you that kind of like Alan Wake universe approach. I mean, you go to visit this place, you ignore the crazy lady who's like, dude, this place is literally hell. And then surprise, it's full of monsters. And also there's a dude with a giant knife who's really wants to give James a hug, but that's like a stabby hug, if you know what I mean. So, I mean, they really kind of, this is really more for that slow, pace kind of combat feeling that did get modernized to basically, kind of match more to the today player base. I got to, it definitely felt like it had that route, and it feels a little bit more inviting for the newcomer, especially if they want to know more about why Pyramid Head is still everyone's worst nightmare.
Yeah, that was another thing that people were debating about, if the change of perspective to be more like Resident Evil was actually a good choice. I believe at the end of the day that
they were always the same. I don't know if it's so
choice.
much of a change. It's just like it's just like, if you're saying like some of the story directions, is that what you're saying?
Well,
like
no, not even
encounter,
necessarily that. It's just the whole fact of like when you compare the original, there's some camera angles that are fixed, and then typically the camera is so much further back compared to now. It's taking notes from Resident Evil's camera angle more so than anything else, really. Specifically, you can go look at like 2, 3, and 4, the remake 2 and 3 and 4, and it is 100% basically they copied the homework of Resident Evil. And I think there is something to be said about it. It changes things, but it does draw in people to this game, because I'd say that probably the Resident Evil franchise is more well known for the modern audience now than Silent Hill.
Right, and it's like, I don't know if that was one of the drawing card that pulled me away. It seems like the same people that kind of complain about, Resident Evil 7 going like that first person route. You're like, wow, you're breaking code, but like whether it's a pro or con, I think you were kind of onto it. But like for me, like the video game storytelling has come a long way. So like diving into like a nearly 2-decade-old tale like Silent Hill 2 made me feel like I was playing Final Fantasy VII Remake all over again. You kind of touched it, right? You got these new voiceover artists, but you still got that old school campy dialogue. And it's like upgrading your car's engine while leaving the fuzzy dice hanging from the rear view mirror. So it's not like they changed the story, but maybe that's a good thing, right? I mean, if you want to get people to embrace the Silent Hill franchise, why would you anger the old school fan base by going, we're going to completely reimagine, like, what are we doing here? So, especially.
And they did try to cater that to them a bit as well. I mean, even from the first reveal trailer, people were like, oh, no, they butchered the look of James in the mirror at the very beginning of the game. They fixed that. They changed it. It's actually a lot closer to the original now. And so they were definitely listening. And I can appreciate that, because a lot of times developers won't change things because of community backlash. They're like, no, we're gonna stand on what we have, and we're gonna just do it the way we think is supposed to be done.
Yeah, and
they listened.
Right, and they kept it to the story. And like, I don't know if like I could be totally outlandish when I say this, but it seems like someone could argue with me, but I feel like, especially in the last, 5 to 10 years, storytelling has definitely been emphasized to a bigger branch, especially
I'd
within
say probably
the medium.
From around the time that honestly, like the PS3 era came around,
Yeah.
Like we've just kind of like nailed down a formula for games. Naughty
So
Dog's
that's-
probably the one that did it the
Yeah,
first, really
right.
to a set standard of like what they did with The Last of Us and Uncharted.
Exactly.
And
So
a
that's
lot of
why-
games are copying that because, you know, hey, it works for telling a story.
Right, and that's why I think it's kind of hard to compare or at least stack it up to, you know, Remedy's Alan Wake 2 or Naughty Dog's The Last of Us, right? You know, they kind of got that Hollywood level ensemble cast and really you know, crunched down that script to really make it good. So like, it's almost like trying to compare a school play to a blockbuster film. Sorry, that's just how it is. But you're still gonna have a blast. I mean, I love. There's something like oddly satisfying about playing a horror game where the atmosphere is so dark. Your flashlight is basically becoming your emotional support tool. I love a great game like that. I mean, yeah, it's been done over and over and over again, right? I'm looking at you, Luigi's Mansion. But if you can shine that light in the right spot, it's a whole lot of terrifying fun until it isn't, because you know when it starts to dwindle. Oh my gosh, I felt like I needed to pause the game, walk away for a little bit, and then come back. And I think they nailed it. I mean, if you want to have that for the kind of modern approach, I think that is really cool. But HenricK, what's the verdict? What are you vibing with it? I mean, is this a pause or a repeat?
You know, I could see it being a pause for people if they feel like they didn't deliver on the hype and the expectation of the fans. But I really think this is a repeat because it's going to be the definitive version of the game that people are going to play. And like I was saying earlier, if you believe that the original version is better, which I will say in some respect it is a little bit better, then have people play this version and have them go back and play the original and have them compare. And then they can see both sides of the argument and determine whether they like the new one or the old one better.
Yeah. I thought
Just
I was
like a different take on things.
To be real with you, HenricK, too, I kind of came into this game like not as excited in the beginning because I kind of felt like, oh my gosh, another freaking remake, you know, like Resident Evil 4. Like, are we really doing this again? And then I found myself playing the game with all the lights on, and then I found myself repeating the game with all the lights off. So yes, it's gonna be a repeat. You guys are definitely gonna love Silent Hill 2 remake, especially for this spooky season. So if you do not have that game locked in, this is the game. Clearly the verdict is locked in. That's right. Chris Collins and HenricK the Wreck. We know what's good, right?
Yeah.
Come on now. We're just some gaming gurus after all. But hey, we got so much video game news to talk about here live on Rage Quit Video Game Talk Show. So stick around, fam. So what are we doing right now, HenricK the Wreck? We're ready to rock and roll. Are you ready?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's time to rage. So let's rage.
Hey, let's get it, baby. What's good, listeners? Welcome to Patch Notes, where my co-host HenricK the Wreck and I discuss gaming news, industry talk, and so much more. Let's get it. The real plot twist, it's me. I couldn't have been more off target if I tried. Turns out predicting Netflix's gaming future was like trying to no-scope in Halo, except I was facing the wrong direction this entire time, HenricK the Wreck. Who knew Team Blue was heading straight for the game over screen? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, despite rallying an all-star squad from Overwatch, Halo, and God of War, the studio got the boot before they can even press start. And I guess Netflix's push into gaming wasn't the epic main quest I thought it was. Just another pointless detour of a side quest. I'm beyond baffled. But, you know, before we even chime in, gamers reacted with the news with the following. So the first comment that we got here is, this being the studio that Joseph Staten joined after leaving Microsoft 343i, with this getting shut down, I'm curious as to where he will end up going to now. Potentially back to Microsoft to join the quote-unquote reborn Halo Studios, perhaps?
Wait. Okay. What's funny about that is so many people are saying Halo Studios is basically just a rebrand of 343 Industries. So if they take it back, he's just going back to his old job.
Yeah, and do they really even want that too? Or maybe they might be inviting. Who knows? Maybe they really let him leave because they felt like, you know what? You deserve it. And you should shine in this new opportunity now that it's gone to rust. We're more than willing to let you polish our new game in Unreal Engine 5, right?
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Right? Who at Netflix has so much sway to make the company actually think it could do something in the gaming industry? From what I could find on Google is that 0.9% of Netflix subscribers play games within Netflix's ecosystem. That's crazy. And yes, the push hasn't been as strong. Yes, they've been focusing on the mobile games. Yeah, it was kind of, remember I feel like HenricK, I could be totally wrong, correct me, but I feel like the only time people really got excited about Netflix gaming was when people on an Android and especially an iOS device found out that they're like, wait, I could play Grand Theft Auto San Andreas with my Netflix account? This is so cool. You probably played it for like a couple days and you're like, I'm over
it only lasts so long. You gotta keep pumping out stuff that people are excited for. Otherwise, they're not going to take part in your new feature that's so exciting.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can play.
Yeah, exactly. And you would have thought that they would want to be in that medium, especially where, millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha is really just prominent in that field. And I play tested the game in IP. They were created in a focus group. They hyped about no microtransactions, but required a Netflix account to play. I don't get it. Soon as it was revealed that Netflix was the one creating it, everyone was like, nope, no interest now. They had big plans for an animated series, heavily marketed IP, and etc. So, take it for what you will. This is a Reddit post. We have no idea if he's just talking out of his ass, representing, looking like God of War Kratos over here in a little Reddit profile pic. But, if that is truly the case, and, that has been kind of a demon in the past, HenricK, right? I mean, we've kind of talked about it, how people just can't stand constantly having to load into, Battle.net or Steam or, EA.
All the different launchers. Yeah.
Right. So, this is kind of no different, but doesn't that honestly make sense, though? I mean, they would want what Amazon Luna's got going, so I don't know if that's a knock, but yeah, maybe that is a turnoff. Let's go into the next comment. Companies like Google and Netflix see the billions and billions the gaming market makes and think they can easily hop in and make their own games. Then they start and see the reality of building a AAA studio from scratch means hundreds of millions of dollars over 6+ years before you ever get a product to ship. So dumb to staff up for a year, then to close a studio down. Yeah, I mean, they must have clearly saw lost profits and panicked, and they maybe don't even really realize that, the turnaround window for so many things that are going on, in the creative space of all things video games is probably not
especially in this year, we've seen so many things get cut back to begin with, and I'm sure Netflix is hurting in other respects as well, not even just in this division. So they're probably trying to save money left and right as much as they can. And it's so funny because from an outsider perspective of things, it seems so simple. Just make it work. And I guess maybe it's not, because clearly they're not able to make it work.
It does feel like it would be simple, and maybe they felt like they missed their flagship. Maybe they know something that we don't know. Maybe it really is like maybe Apple gaming that's going to be a little bit more prominent within now, the Amazon and Microsoft getting in the game, coming next month, bringing in the app, the Xbox store. So that's crazy. And then we also got a tweet here that says, Scoop, Netflix has closed its AAA game studios in California less than 2 years after opening it and making big hires. Last spring, Halo vet Joseph Staten made headlines for joining. Team's gone now. A shakeup as new gaming bosses at Netflix settle in. So yeah, so essentially what that tweet is saying is that they are still not done with focusing on gaming. They're just like, we're not going down the AAA route. We're going to be focused a little bit more towards mobile gaming. And then last, Halo has closed their creative director job listing a week or so ago. So that's got some people feeling like maybe the old head is coming back, HenricK. Who knows? I feel like that might be a stretch. I could be completely wrong with that.
Like I was saying, I'm pretty sure Halo Studios is just a rebrand of 343 with some new staff, and they were obviously hiring people new as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he'd want to go back to his old job. I mean, obviously, we don't know the full details of his departure, if it was entirely all on his side or their side or a mutual agreement. Until he says, hey, I'm here, we're not going to know until he's there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I also, the question that I'm just kind of feeling like that needs to be addressed is Netflix gaming strategy just basically a game of musical chairs where Team Blue got up and left before the music even started? Or are they secretly hoping we'll all start playing Outer Banks, the mobile game, on the toilet instead of watching the actual show? I mean, I just find it so funny that they feel like they can turn their own original IP into a mobile game, and then that's really going to pull you in. Remember when they were trying to do that with Love is Blind? How many people are really doing that? Like, that's so weird to me. I mean, do you have a thought on that? I mean, is that a good approach? I mean, we all know that the younger kids are on the mobile devices, but like, can they successfully deliver on that forefront?
I think it's that they lost the script somewhere, because I mean, what are the things that they're making that people are really excited about? I mean, like you said, the only big thing people were excited about them offering was GTA.
Yeah.
Which means that everything else that they were offering, it's like people looked at it and were like, never going to play that.
But it felt so promising because Netflix launched its game business in November 2021 and has since acquired 4 gaming studios: Night School, Boss Fight, Next Games, and Spry Fox. So that's really what made people feel very excited. They started to develop these AAA studios known as, the Blue Team over in Southern California. And then there's another one in Helsinki. So, you start to feel excited. Remember, we reported back in July, Netflix hired, Epic Games is, prominent figures over there, Alan Tescon. I might be butchering your name. I'm so sorry, brother, but they got you as the new president of games. And then, following that decision, Facebook and EA vet Mike Verdu, previously Netflix's vice president of games, into the new role. So you really started to feel like, wow, they're starting to get some prominent figures in the industry to really kind of help Netflix reach that new frontier. But then you're getting other sources, HenricK, where I'm so befuddled, and they're like, I don't know where this report even came from. We never had any interest in pursuing a PC console specific gaming development. So what was Team Blue planning on making to begin with? That's what I'm kind of surprised by.
Probably something mobile. That's probably what they were looking at. But
the next Call of Duty mobile game? Like,
I mean, the thing is, a lot of AAA studios have lost the script on this as well. It's the whole fact of like, when you're making games with such a high budget, you can't have failure. Yeah. Because failure is going to mean millions of dollars lost potentially, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at it from that perspective, it's no longer like it was back in the early 2000s where a studio could make maybe 10 titles and 2 of them would be good and the rest would be crap and no one would buy them and they'd become cult classics maybe like 10 years down the line. But, those 2 games that were successful ended up making you so much profit that it didn't matter that you had failure.
Yeah.
Because, and now they can't do that because the budgets have inflated so much. And I'd wager to say that it's even more volatile on the mobile space because so many times people will look at a game, they'll maybe play a game, and then they'll move on to the next thing the next day even sometimes.
Or they'll always be like, you can try level 1 and level 2 for free, but if you want to play the rest, pay us $3.99. I mean, it is quite remarkable that Netflix has released more than 100 mobile games so far, and it feels like nobody is aware of any of it. So it's like they're not making too much progress. I know starting next month, they're going to be pushing it with their own IP. They got this new game called Netflix Stories, which they're going to be dropping something new per month, which is being reported. So it's starting off with Outer Banks first, then they're going to do Emily in Paris, Virgin River, and Love is Blind is something they've kind of done in the past. And, they're also looking into Squid Games as a mobile title and Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon franchise. I thought that had a terrible rating, but hey, they clearly
people haven't been talking too great about that one.
But they clearly feel like you want to jump into that video game space with them. So what do you think about, this endeavor? Is Netflix on the right side and maybe it was time to just abandon all shit? Maybe it will make the subscription fee go down. Nah, I doubt it. But
probably not.
Focusing on mobile gaming, do you have faith that they will deliver iconic games? Let us know what's good. And man, you started to segue a little bit, because that conversation, it easily feels like it parlays into, the next topic of conversation.
Oh, yeah,
so break
definitely.
it down, Henrik.
Well, former PlayStation boss Sean Layden thinks gaming's, quote, creativity collapse is happening because publishers are treating budgets like ticking time bombs. Speaking at Gamescom Asia, Layden reminisced about the good old days when he spent more time playing games than interrogating devs with questions like, quote, so how many loot boxes can we fit in this? End
Yeah,
quote.
it feels like that.
Yeah, and of course, gamers responded to the former PlayStation CEO's comments with the following.
Yeah, quite a bit of people. So, we did get this first comment that says, thankfully Ubisoft made the first quadruple A game. Also, It Takes Two sales top 20 million, which is considered a double A game. So what is he going on about? So, some people were like, I don't really understand, what he's trying to entail. Is, ballooning, the budget in a video game. I think he's probably talking about,
maybe they
Horizon Forbidden West and stuff.
Maybe they got to focus first on making the gameplay loop fun, and then they can bring in the budget and make it a quadruple A game if they even want to go that far. But the problem with not Sea of Thieves. Why do I always say that? It's Skull and Bones.
Yeah, right, exactly.
With Skull and Bones, not Sea of Thieves. That's a much better game.
Yeah, don't you do that, Henrik. Don't you do that. You get it right. I got his back.
You're right. Thank you. Skull and Bones. The problem with it being a quadruple A game was that the gameplay loop doesn't match up to that level of quality, so everyone clowns it.
But do you agree with that guy's statement that, It Takes Two is considered a double A game? I mean, I don't know what the budget was on that game, but like
debate that it's more on the side of being a quadruple A game because of who's behind it and all that.
Remember, it was nominated for like Video Game of the Year. I think it won, right? I don't know. Like,
it totally
have
win.
my facts wrong in front of me.
Thing
so, like, also, is that the first double A game to win?
Game, so
yeah, I'm like, come on, man. Nah, double A's are flourishing thanks to the shitty practices that double A studios do. Some people, truly feel that way. But then you also got in the AAA space, indies and AA are doing great. Most AAA nowadays is boring, regurgitated slop. So some people just clearly don't feel satisfied year after year. And yeah, they did have a new survey from Circana, I think, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but they were saying that 71% of gamers today in the United States are gamers. But then they also reported that $56.20 was spent within the last 6 months on video games. So if that's truly the case, people aren't buying new games, Henrik. So yeah, I mean, people truly feel like they might be regurgitated slop, or they just don't want to pay the cost. Laughing out loud, they keep making this the very same subset of genre, big budget, third person action game all the time. When's the last time they made, for example, a rhythm game? Creativity happens with indies who don't hesitate to take risks. They don't. What I didn't quite understand. What does he mean by a rhythm game? Is he talking like, what do you want, your next Guitar Hero? What's you looking for?
Yeah, it would be things like that, like a Guitar Hero or some sort of DDR style game. Or
he's missing his PlayStation Move.
Like
He's missing his PlayStation
Yeah, there
Move.
you go.
He must have saw that surgery video that we showed last week. I mean, that is pretty wild. 5,000 miles away from Switzerland to Hong Kong. Like, wow. I mean, who would have thought, video game controllers could be such a amazing tool in the healthcare field. Next comment we got here is, no, gaming has just become too corporate. Let game developers be creative again. Some people do feel like that. Sometimes when the bigwigs step in, they feel like that just kind of halts creativity, or what we've kind of seems like to be the overlining theme with the whole people feeling like they have to hire these ethic committees to kind of step in and see whether your games
consultation firms.
Yeah, exactly. That's a little too woke, my friend, or that's too anti-woke. Let me help correct this for you. And there's a collapse of creativity on the Western industry. Japan is doing fine. And, sometimes it does feel like that. Who are the people that are bitching about Stellar Blade? Who are the people that are bitching about Assassin's Creed? Yeah, that kind of did go both ways. But, Henrik, is the former PlayStation boss onto something when he says gaming's creativity collapse is due to ballooning budgets, or should we just blame it on the publishers thinking Fortnite is the key to unlocking a treasure chest full of cash instead of asking, is this actually fun?
Well, Fortnite is actually a great example of something that people latched onto, like gamers I'm talking about, is because there's no cost to entry. It's a free game. So if there's a new feature in it, you can go ahead and go try it if it seems interesting to you. Whereas with a game that is $70 out the box, you gotta really sell it to the gamer to be able to get a sale out of them. And yes, there are ways to play some of those games on the subscription services, but I would wager to say that a lot of people don't want to have to be locked into a subscription service to play some of these games. Like they want to have the feeling of ownership of yes, I own this game, even though maybe it's just the box. I own the game, and that's it. You know, I'm not paying monthly to have access to this.
Yeah.
It's a changing landscape right now. I want to say there's a lot of things coming in that these corporations that are running these studios want to see happen because they've seen it work in other industries. Like, I mean, when was the last time you were able to buy Photoshop for the full suite of Photoshop? You know, like now it's all subscription. So if they see that that works there for that industry, they're going to want to have to, you know, see if it'll even work in the gaming industry because it's going to make them so much more money according to their projections. But
yeah, I mean, it feels like, I think you're saying like Fortnite, you know, it's like, it does feel like the perfect example, right? It's like, why break something when why fix something if it's not broken, right? I mean, the publishers, you know, that are looking at Fortnite and Epic Games are like, man, can I get something that's more bulletproof, that it's a money-making machine, like that's something that's not gonna, you know, siphon into something that's like a colossal wreck, like X Defiant is something that comes to mind, where, you know, people are scrambling behind the scenes to try to, you know, revive a dead carcass, and it's just like, dude, it's you can't do that with it now. You got to move on.
Yeah.
And so, you know, especially when he's talking, you know, at Gamescom Asia, you know, and he's talking about these, you know, console juggernauts in the industry, you know, apparently, you know, spent a lot more time looking at games without asking, you know, business had questions like, what's your monetization scheme? What's your recurrent revenue plan? What's your subscription formula? And yeah, you're kind of seeing that. Remember, Assassin's Creed Shadows kind of got pulled back a little bit. Now the collector's edition doesn't really mean anything anymore because there's no such thing as a season pass moving forward. And so, yeah, I mean, some of those questions can be raised. Can we make a AAA game that doesn't balloon into The Last of Us or Horizon Forbidden West that needed $200 million, gamers, to develop a game? But how can we create that same game but really minimize the cost? And I think
and when you're looking at the indie games in the AA space or even below that, a lot of these developers, they're making the game out of passion for making a game. They're not trying to make it to make money. If they make money, then that's just even better, you know, because then they have the option to do more for it or, you know, move on to do something else that they had an idea of, but maybe didn't have money to make it possible. And that's why there's that difference in the feel of a lot of indie games compared to the AAA games. Aside from obviously, you know, the budgets, there's a seemingly like a passion that flows through those games. And when you're a AAA game, you kind of lose that because you got the corporation behind you saying, no, we have to be making money. Like you said, you have to be focusing on how are you monetizing this if you're a live service game? Or even if you're a single player game, how are we going to make money beyond the initial sale of the game? Are we going to, you know, offer DLC? Are we going to offer skins they can use in the single player mode, a season pass?
Right.
And it's like gamers don't want all that in single player games, guys.
Pass.
But you seem to be shoving it in our faces because you think we want them because you see that in live service games.
But what do you also think along the lines of what the former PlayStation boss is also saying when he was also at that Gamescom in Asia, where he was also on record stating that THQ and the AA space used to fill out that void and publish lower budget but super creative games, but the industry is now littered with either indie games or blockbusters that could bankrupt a company if it doesn't sell a gazillion copies. Wink on wink, Microsoft. So
yeah, it's wild because that just means that their business model is not really sustainable because you can't have a mistake. It's the whole thing of, like I was saying in the previous segment, and I'll say it again for those who didn't see it, that when you have a company make 10 games and then 2 of them are great, and the rest kind of fall to the wayside and don't really make you money. Those 2 games can make back all the money you maybe lost on those other 8 games. And the industry as it is now is not like that anymore. You can't have mistakes anymore because mistakes mean people lose jobs and the company loses so much money that they either have to close the studio or just close altogether and no longer are games being made.
I guess the question how we can end this topic, for all the gamers that are listening to us right now is, did you buy a new game this year?
That's a good question.
I think that would address, are we seeing a collapse in creativity? Do we need to go back to the KISS standard? Keep it simple, stupid. Let us know what's good. Yeah, it's so true, man. I mean, are we seeing that collapse? I really don't have the answers for it. But, this other, report, if you're ready for this, HenricK, let's go right on into it. Over 700 Ubisoft France staff had hit the pause on their work and gone full AFK in a 3-day strike over home working and pay. According to the Le Monde, hopefully I pronounced that right. I know I happen to butcher things time and time again. But the French Game Workers Union, STJV, called Ubisoft's France-based workers to log out and protest after the company tried to drag them back to the office last month. So I guess the employees decided they'd rather fight bosses in their PJs at home than battle office politics in person. So gamers stormed the web to voice their thoughts on the news with the following. So let's go ahead and read the first comment around this topic of conversation, which reads, does every popular game developer just get too big and fall apart eventually? Gone public, constant growth becomes a necessity.
Even if it's not really possible, because they want the numbers never to go down. They only got to go up.
Yeah, that's a good point. Infinite growth model is well on its way to destroying the planet and everyone's lives along the way. The stock market went from belief in a company to generate profit and pay dividends with the sustainable growth to deregulated mess of pump and dumps, market manipulation, and outright betting. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what the former PlayStation boss, was kind of emphasizing. We're just throwing money into the air and just kind of hoping that it catches. Going public ruins game companies by sapping their creativity in lieu of profit. Who knew you need creativity to make something worth playing? But maybe Ubisoft's saying, if we can actually get you guys all together instead of in your PJs or in the comfort of your own home, maybe we can actually get this thing right, for the gamers. I don't know. I mean, these are all great questions. Nothing but L's this year for Ubisoft. You mean this decade?
Oh, man.
I know. People are just, wow. French game workers, so everything that we kind of just addressed. Worker strikes and the French name a more iconic duo. And then one person responded, I wish more Americans had the balls to strike over something like this too. And last, well, not exactly game companies, but in America, an entire warehouse of Amazon workers went on strike, and Amazon was like, okay, you don't want to work? Well, we'll just fire all of you and close the warehouse down. And that's how Amazon responded to a strike. But I mean, that's, one example, and, it's definitely a reality. But HenricK, could Ubisoft's return to office policy actually spark creativity, and why? Why, oh, why do some gamers seem to be rooting for the downfall of Ubisoft? I really don't understand that. I think Ubisoft still is an excellent studio. I don't understand. I mean, yeah. What's your thoughts on all that?
Well, so in regards to the return to office thing, we've seen so many studios push that through recently, and it's disrupted a lot of developers' lives, really, because some of these developers that get hired as remote for these studios, maybe not so much in this case, but some of them for other studios, they get hired and they don't even live in the state where the office is.
Yeah, exactly. That's
or maybe they live in a town over where the commute is going to be like an hour or more.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I need to get you to. You need to get to Burbank to Santa Monica.
Yeah, like
and
that's
constantly
rough.
make that drive. Yeah, it's really rough. Yeah,
to do that every day, and so I feel for them because I'm sure they are now used to their remote jobs. Where let's not get it twisted. You're working. But you can also do other things at home, like the laundry. If you have kids, you can make dinner and lunch
Yeah.
for them while they're not at school if it's during a break.
Yeah.
Things like that, so it's a different lifestyle as opposed to having to go to the office every day. And
That's a good point.
I wouldn't say if one way or the other, if it would spark creativity, I'd have to see the numbers. And I'd say, honestly, if the numbers are doing fine for productivity, it's not going to make a difference.
Yeah,
if anything, it might actually make it worse because people are going to do this instead.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you on the whole like spark creativity thing. I don't know, if there's any kind of statistical facts that can even prove that. Even to this day,
Yeah.
I won't be alive when they, kind of prove me wrong or right. Whatever. But like, have we ever thought about this as being like a potential security breach issue? We've kind of emphasized that with Rockstar Games.
That is what Rockstar said. Yeah, exactly.
So
that's
there's
totally
that.
fair because you are taking probably a company laptop home with work on it that is confidential, and not to say that it couldn't happen, but whether someone breaks into your house or either even you yourself as the inside developer leaks something out, you don't have eyes on that device that's in your house from the company, I mean.
Yeah, you can be easily an amazing talent in the creative space, especially when it comes to visuals or even a voiceover talent. Like I've been kind of wanting to explore that realm a little bit. I think that would be kind of very exciting to kind of join that kind of field of voiceover, realm. And so when I was looking into it, I didn't even realize, that some people, use softwares like Source Connect, which is, looks like a Windows 98, software when you do check it out during your free time, gamers. But essentially it's the old school approach of like a web-based Zoom where you could connect from your home studio to work with other, creatives, in every kind of different location. I mean, it's not like you're gonna walk into every kind of studio and be like, especially if you're an editor, right? And you're like, hey man, I got your special desk over here. I want you working in my office. And you're like, hey man, no, I prefer to use a stand-up desk instead. You got one for me accommodated for? Like, no, like some people can easily, they might have better rigs at their own space, but then, it's difficult. It's so tough to argue on this. I feel like, HenricK. It's just either, they could, because again, just to kind of put some context around this, gamers, Ubisoft stocks tumbled following the release of Star Wars Outlaws, falling by more than 10% in 2 days. That's crazy. So in September, the value of Ubisoft shares was 40% lower than at the beginning of the year, their lowest value in a decade. So clearly the company feels like something's got to change, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just shocked that people want to see the downfall of Ubisoft. Am I the only guy?
They have the potential. They have the potential to be a great studio. They have the budget funding and everything. It's just they're lacking some quality to their games, I feel, for a lot of people that people want out of games. And I don't know if creativity is the thing that needs to happen, but maybe it is.
Yeah.
I'll have to see if this actually changes anything, if their strike doesn't go through, for example.
It just sounds like we're just ramping up those old tropes about millennials, HenricK, where they're just eating their avocado toast, they're in their PJs, and they don't want to go to the office. Yes, that does sound fantastic. But if you can deliver the job, you can deliver the job. We want to know from you, gamers, do you feel like this is the right move in Ubisoft's direction? Will that revive the company going into the new year forward? Let us know what's good. But hey, we're having some fun towards the end of the show. HenricK the Wreck, break it down, baby.
Yeah. What video game did the hype convince you to try for only you to realize you'd rather be watching paint dry?
It's funny that you say that, HenricK, because that's how my dad makes fun of me when I watch golf. He's like, you're watching paint dry? Watching golf.
It can be a little exciting at moments, but yeah.
A
lot of times it is just waiting around. Oh, okay, they're setting up for the putt.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how some people feel like.
And they get
hockey's
real quiet,
more engaging in person. Sometimes on TV, it doesn't quite translate well. We all get it.
But yeah, so this debate kicked off on a Reddit thread where gamers everywhere were confessing the popular games they just couldn't vibe with. The ones where everyone's raving and you're just sitting there wondering, did I download the wrong game, or is this just a glorified fetch quest?
Yeah,
Well,
right.
gamers shared their thoughts in the debate with the following comments.
Oh, yes, they did, Henrik. The first one that we got here is Fortnite. I just found it annoying how everyone was jumping around, and when I shoot people, they'd be building those effing towers instead of shoot me back. And yes, I know they have a no build mode now, but I don't feel like giving it another try. I mean, that's you, Bradley. But you know, it's kind of funny. Once they did introduce the no build mode, Henrik, I gotta say, it's hard for me to even want to go back, man. Some people feel like they're like some crack babies on there or something. Like, that might not be the nice thing to say. I scratch that. But basically, they're so fast. Some of these kids are just twitching so fast with their fingers that it's like, I can't compete, man. It's crazy. They're building like these crazy origami
It is
sets.
wild to see how fast they will build a full-on structure in front of you. The second there's any threat of anyone shooting at them, oh, okay, well, now you're very protected, and I'm going to go somewhere else and fight another guy.
Especially in those epic community games where they'll do like box wars or something, 1 versus 1. It's like, nah, I don't see how anybody finds that fun. But hey, there's a youthful group out there that is way better at Fortnite build than I am. The Outer Worlds. I was really excited to see Obsidian start a new IP, but it just didn't vibe with me. And then another person followed up by saying, I have tried to beat that game twice, and I just can't finish it. Not sure why. Hey, man, I didn't think it was a horrible game, but it wasn't a great game. But, yeah, I mean, it's not going to be as memorable for everybody, especially when you compare it to the likes of Skyrim and Fallout, I suppose.
Pretty much, yeah. I think that it also gets confused. The title's really close to The Outer Wilds, which is a different game.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That one in particular has that issue I have seen.
But sometimes it does feel a little problematic when, like video games like Fable, which I'm very excited to play the newer edition coming up, when that has a better storyline than the Outer Worlds, that could be a problem. Zelda, Breath of the Wild, the weapon breaking all the time just really annoyed me. I love Breath of the Wild, but I really like the older games better. Sometimes that does get kind of freaking annoying after a while.
That is something I have heard a lot of people complain about, and I hope that when they make the next 3D Zelda, they do not add a feature in like that and try to go a little closer to the original formula, because as cool as the open world thing is for Zelda, I feel like we can do better storylines if we do the older formula.
Yeah, we don't always need the realistic approach in every little gameplay. Like, it's okay to throw up that 5-second little pause menu cutscene. To just show me that my sword's done and ready and upgraded. Black Myth Wukong. I just couldn't get into the flow of combat. Another person followed up by saying combat is super janky. Those multi-hits with the single button press just doesn't flow for me. How dare you say that? I love those kind of style of games. Those are always so much fun. God of War, Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry, it's one of my favorite franchises.
Right? So we need our button mashing.
Yeah, but I totally understand that. I mean, when it comes to games like that, you have to kind of put in the time to have it click in your head, and it's just not for people.
You know what, Henrik? I'm not going to understand. He's a hater, okay?
Oh, okay. You're the one saying skill issue this time.
Yes, exactly. Hogwarts Legacy, the school life pacing is pretty boring. Another person followed up by saying, I love the first few hours of exploring the castle. They really nailed the atmosphere. Going to Hogsmeade for the first time was fun too, but then you get into the generic open worldness of it and falls off hard. Talking a lot of my gamer friends, I don't know if that resonates with everybody, but I do know with the handful of some of my gamer buddies, I kind of heard this quite a bit. I was quite surprised. Some people just didn't finish this game, even though it sold very, very, very well.
Yeah, and I guess it wasn't because they didn't add Quidditch in there.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this was really an iconic move in the Harry Potter video game franchise space. I mean, especially going from the Legos to the PSP versions, you name it. GameCube really had a legendary run going on. But some people, it just was like, this is kind of sluggish a little bit. And then Yes, just like how the original Reddit question was. The Witcher 3. I've been told I didn't play long enough, but I honestly was just bored to death. Close to 10 hours in. Didn't really enjoy the combat, the enemies, the general gist. Glad it's not just me, another person followed up by saying.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, Cyberpunk was brilliant.
Yeah, you know what's wild is that first 10 hours, I want to say 10 to 15 hours is basically tutorial. So I get what people said. Hey, you didn't play enough. You know, go back in and play a little more.
Yeah,
But
sometimes those could be such a drag.
for other games, 10 to 15 hours is a full length of the game. So
Yeah.
like if it doesn't click for someone at that point, it's completely understandable in my opinion at that point, because that is a long time.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to
yeah.
see like other games try to minimize some of those, some of those complaints. Like the one I can think of right away is Star Wars Jedi Survivor, especially when you go to meditate. Those are your space where if you want to do a tutorial on a new move or a force or whatever, they're not going to just force it in you in the middle of the game. Like, you're forced to learn this now.
Yeah,
they're like,
you can just wing it, F it, we ball.
Yeah,
Get this thing, and then I'll figure it out while I fight someone.
Exactly. And if you truly do have a skill issue, you can practice it while you're meditating. But spill the tea, HenricK. What video game didn't click for you and why?
A recent example I can come to mind for is High on Life. I was, kind of on the fence about it, and then I got it included in Humble Choice recently.
Okay.
I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I heard people say some pretty good stuff about it. One of my friends didn't really like it, but I was like, let me get my own opinion on this. So, yeah, there's a lot of talking in that, and the jokes didn't really hit for me. So
I got felt flat. You didn't get that.
About
Rick
3
and Morty
hours
funny.
in, I
Do
was
you
like,
find Rick and Morty funny? I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing. You kind of have to have
that sense of
flavor,
humor.
like you have to enjoy that humor. And like, while I do enjoy some moments from Rick and Morty, maybe like I did enjoy the Pickle Rick thing for the first few times that I saw it, and then it got really played out, and then now it's kind of annoying. But like it's just one of those games where if you don't like that humor, it's not going to click for you, and it just didn't click for me. So I might not go back to it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. The one that just comes to mind immediately is Death Stranding, and it's a game that I definitely want to still finish, but I can't come to want to get around to it because I feel like I'm playing a walking simulator, like everybody's saying.
Yeah,
this is not some new
that is
joke
100%
that anybody's saying.
A game that you have to just be there for the vibes, not for the gameplay.
Yeah, you're definitely going for the vibes. Like, I mean, if you feel like you're doing a 9-to-5 gig, you're not going to want to play this game, especially if you're like a UPS driver or work for Amazon. You're going to be feeling like
you're going to be doing that again.
Packages during an active tornado warning. That's basically the synopsis of Death Stranding. This one might trigger a few gamers out there, but I've just kind of come to this realization, HenricK. It's like, I do remember the good old days playing Pokemon when it was all about catching them all and maybe battling your little brother. But man, Pokemon used to be so simple. You'd pick up your starter, wander around the tall grass for a while. You might accidentally KO a few Zubats, and boom, we're the champions, baby. But I just don't have the willpower anymore to go back and play those Pokemon classics. Like, I just don't have that same mentality to grind to a level 100 with my starting 6 Pokemon.
I mean, have they really changed the formula that much, Chris?
No, but what I would say is, as I've gotten older, it seems like the old school Pokemon Stadium is the better format for me. I like to just get my guys, grab my 6 Pokemon. Maybe we might have a few rules where it's like you can only have, the full evolution. You got to have, maybe you got to pick a Charizard, Squirtle, or a Snorlax. I mean, anything. You get the point. Like, you can have some fun with that route. I like to keep it simple, I suppose, in Pokemon. It's too difficult for me now, I suppose. I'm just talking the classic version. I don't know.
I mean, it's definitely one of those games that it's great to play in your off time.
Well,
as a like an emulation game, basically.
Well, okay, perfect. You just nailed it, because that's where I was about to say. It's like when the emulator phase was like going, the hype was so real. What was the first thing that everybody was trying to get like on their phones or the PCs? Pokemon, right? And then you go and play it, and then when you have those emulations, you can actually speed up the gameplay. Even
That's true. Yeah.
Even that didn't keep me around to even want to be like, I think I got to probably like 25, maybe 30. And I was like, okay, I'm over this. I can't do this anymore. I've already done this once and don't plan on revisiting it again. But hey, guys, gamers, girls, gals, you name it, let us know. What was that popular video game that you bought but just didn't click? Let us know what's good. But man, this has been such a fun show. A lot of industry talk, gaming news, and so much more. Wow, I'm already having tongue twisters already. Can't you tell? It's towards the end of the show. But we want to thank you, the gamers, for always tuning in live every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, because without you guys' support, this show would not be possible. And so here's my QR code to my YouTube channel. Go ahead and scan it. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a live show.
And go ahead and scan that QR code over there as well. And that goes to my YouTube channel, where you can go join the conversation, talk about the memes, talk about games, computers, anything.
Yeah, man. Join along for the ride. Hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys next week live Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you guys are following us all over the World Wide Web. That's called social media, baby. You know the drill. We will see you next week. Peace.
See ya.